An outspoken and unconventional politician, Angela Rayner was never afraid of taking the fight to her opponents.
Prime Minister, how's it going? Are you okay?
Angela Rayner's route to the top of government was an unusual one. Born in Stockport, she left school at 16 whilst pregnant and with no qualifications. After training in social care, she became a union official before then joining Labour. Speaking before she entered government, she said she initially found Parliament an alien environment.
I mean, when I was growing up, my world was 3 streets on the estate I grew up in. I didn't even go to Manchester, I lived in Stockport.
First elected to the Greater Manchester seat of Ashton-under-Lyne in 2015, Angela Rayner was appointed Shadow Education Secretary a year later. Seen as on the left of Labour, she was one of a handful of MPs who backed Jeremy Corbyn when he fought a leadership challenge after the EU referendum. She remained in his shadow cabinet throughout his time in office and through the Brexit battles, establishing a reputation for straight and colourful speaking. Tipped as a leadership candidate, Angela Rayner instead ran and was elected as Labour deputy to Sir Keir Starmer after 2019's election loss. After initially handing her a string of shadow cabinet job titles, Sir Keir attempted to demote her after disappointing local election results in 2021. But she resisted, won the power struggle that followed, and was handed an even bigger job, solidifying her position as a popular and influential voice on the left of the party. But she sometimes went too far and was criticised later that year for calling Conservatives scum.
I think anyone who leaves children hungry during a pandemic and can give billions of pounds to their mates on WhatsApp, I think that was pretty scummy.
She eventually apologised for those comments, but still didn't shy away from confrontation in the Commons.
He tries to laugh it off. He looks for someone else to blame.
A very different politician to the former barrister she served under, Angela Rayner was seen as a more traditional Labour voice who could speak to the party's heartlands. After the successful election campaign, she found herself in charge of important swathes of policy, overseeing changes to planning and house building, while also taking on responsibility for workers' rights. But questions about her property arrangements started to emerge even before the election. Inquiries by the police and the tax office into homes she owned in the northwest seemed to put her in the clear. It was the purchase of a flat on the south coast that proved her undoing, though.
I've been in shock, really, because I thought I'd done everything proper and I'd relied on the advice that I received. And I'm devastated because I've always upheld the rules and always have done and always felt proud to do that.
A politician widely thought of as a potential successor to Sir Keir Starmer, brought down by the type of scandal she had so often.
Angela Rayner's resignation this week has closed a remarkable and often turbulent chapter in British politics. The Deputy Prime Minister stepped down after revelations that she saved £40,000 in stamp duty on a property purchase in Hove, a controversy that opponents seized upon and which ultimately proved politically untenable. Rayner's departure is striking because her career had long been defined as a triumph over adversity. Raised on a council estate in Stockport, she left school at 16 with no formal qualifications and worked as a care assistant while raising her first child. Far from being a barrier, her working-class roots became central to her political identity. She was unapologetic about her background, often saying she represented the millions of Britons who had been excluded from Westminster's elite political culture. Her political rise began in the trade union movement. At Unison, she developed a reputation as a fearless advocate for low-paid staff, speaking with a candor that stood in stark contrast to the polished rhetoric of career politicians. In 2015, she was elected Labour MP for Ashton under Lynn, where she quickly built a profile as a fiery Commons speaker and a staunch defender of workers' rights. Rayner's ascent continued with her election as Labour's deputy leader in 2020, a victory that underscored her popularity among grassroots members. Under Keir Starmer, she was elevated to Deputy Prime Minister, a position that made her one of the most powerful women in British politics. She often presented herself as a counterbalance to the technocratic leadership style of Starmer, plain, spoken, direct, and connected to the concerns of ordinary people. Her time in office, however, was not free of controversy. Questions over her finances had simmered for months, but the revelation that she had avoided paying $40,000 in stamp duty on a property in Hove reignited scrutiny. Although Rayner insisted she had acted within the rules, the political damage was swift. Opponents framed the issue as hypocrisy, arguing that a politician who had built her brand on representing ordinary families could not be seen to benefit from tax loopholes. The mounting pressure left her with little room to maneuver. In the end, resignation was the only way to stem the political fallout, though it left supporters dismayed at what they see as the loss of a powerful working-class voice in government. Despite her exit, Rayner's journey remains extraordinary. She climbed from a care home job to the second highest office in the land, all without the traditional privileges or educational background of most senior politicians. She symbolized the possibility of social mobility, while her northern bluntness and resilience made her one of the most recognizable figures in Westminster. Whether this is the end of her political career or a temporary setback, Angela Rayner leaves behind a legacy that will continue to shape Labour's identity, a reminder that power in Britain can, occasionally, still come from outside the establishment.
Angela Rayner. The tax row has finally come to an end, as has her career. Her reign as Deputy Prime Minister and Housing Secretary is over, triggering a frantic day of action in Westminster, which almost overshadowed the Reform UK conference. Obviously, nobody will forget this.
I'm an insomniac. I'm an insomniac.
But before we get stuck in, let's take you back to how this all began nearly 2 weeks ago, when both the Mail and the Sun on Sunday broke the story that Rayner, whilst cracking down on second home owners, had bought her second place but her third home for £800,000, a three-bedroom seaside flat in Brighton. According to Rayner, she was advised that she would only need to pay the standard rate of tax on the purchase and denied any wrongdoing. But just days later, the Telegraph broke the news, claiming that she had, in fact, guess what? She dodged £40,000 in stamp duty. The Tories then wrote to the PM's ethics advisor, asking him to investigate Rayner's tax affairs, but she survived the weekend. Now, Angela would be the first to call out wrongdoing and demand resignations.
Now it emerged actually that that's not true, and that there was a HMRC investigation and that he's had to pay penalties for that. I think that makes his position untenable.
Yes, I'm sure it does. And her historic tweets shows that she's called for other people to resign for much less. Then, just half an hour before the first PMQs after summer recess, under fire, Angela Rayner finally admitted that she had not paid enough tax on her second home, referring herself to the ethics watchdog. Oh, and the same Beth Rigby that hounded previous Conservative leaders to quit at every given opportunity gave Angela an easy ride.
I have alerted and referred myself to the independent advisor on the ministerial code to ensure that they can look transparently at what's happened, and also contacted HMRC to say that there is additional tax owing on this and that I'm prepared to pay that and fully comply with the HMRC as well.
The Cabinet rallied around Angela.
I have full confidence in Angela Rayner. She's a good friend and a colleague. That was an error. That was a mistake. She is working hard now to rectify that.
She went on her own judgment and got independent expert tax advice. She's made a mistake, sure, but she's made an honest mistake.
I can be clear. I am very proud to sit alongside a Deputy Prime Minister who is building 1.5 million homes, who is bringing the biggest upgrade to workers' rights in a generation, and who's come from a working class background to be Deputy Prime Minister of this country.
Yes, some more than others.
They have a go at her because she's so bloody good at her job.
Yes, that's Lucy Powell, and by the way, she lost her job today as well. Sir Keir repeatedly refused to say if he would sack Rayner if the standards advisor concluded she broke the ministerial code, and meanwhile, Rayner's property was targeted with graffiti branding her as a tax evader. Then this morning, the investigation found that she had breached the ministerial code because she had failed to meet the highest possible standards of proper conduct. Ms Rayner resigned from all her positions, including Housing Secretary and Deputy Labour Leader. Then came the reshuffle. Brace yourselves, because David Lammy is our new Deputy Prime Minister and Justice Minister. Yvette Cooper has been taken out of the Home Office and will replace Lammy, and Shabana Mahmood is the new Home Secretary. Elsewhere, Steve Reid, Pat McFadden, Peter Khan and Liz Kendall were given new posts. Ed Miliband, Bridget Phillipson and Wes Streeting stay where they are.